Hello, this is Tyler Mahonen with Keystone Farm. Just going to show you a little bit about how we do bale grazing in the winter and spring with goats. So most people do bale grazing. They just set out a bunch of bales at a certain spacing and let the animals have access to a certain number of bales. The bales usually last a week that they have access to, and they don't have anything around the bales, so they unfurl and get all over the ground, and there's a lot of waste, which I don't think is waste because it feeds the soil, and there might be a bare patch of grass not growing there for a little bit, but eventually it'll turn around and be a lot more productive in that area. But alfalfa is expensive. That's what I'm feeding these goats, so I elect to and goats are really picky, so I elect to just put a ratchet strap around the bale, so this prevents the bale from, otherwise they'll dig at the bale and it'll just unfurl and there'll be a lot more waste. You could use a bale ring and whatnot, but you still have the same problem. Otherwise, I've seen people have like bale feeders where it's almost like crates around the bale, and it's like a creep feeder. So as they're eating, the bale feeder collapses on itself and gets smaller and smaller. But there again, I think the animals aren't getting, maybe they wouldn't get enough in that situation because the bars are only I don't know, 4 inches apart or something, so they can only eat that much, and they can't really pick and choose. I think goats need to pick and choose a little bit more than cows or sheep. They have a little bit different nutritional requirements. So I do it this way, and they pick through, and they mainly just eat this alfalfa, the leaves themselves, and they don't eat much of the stems. I don't think cows and sheep would eat much of these stems either, but I think in general cows and sheep are less picky than goats. So yeah, this is how I do my bale grazing in the winter and fall. As you can see, this ground is pretty poor condition. Creeping Charlie here. There's a little bit of grass. There's not much, especially in the growing season. There's a lot of burdock. You can see here, there's burdock stems, which they'll eat when it's vegetative and just coming out of the ground. But once it gets tall and starts shooting up, they aren't as fond of it. So here's the remnant of bale grazing I did last week, and this area is becoming silvopasture. I've been clearing trees the last couple of years. That's part of the reason I have goats is, if you cut a tree down, the tree will sprout from the stump, and there will be lots of sprouts. And goats really, I'll show you an example, really like those tender sprouts. I guess right here, this is one I cut down probably a couple years ago, so it's already dying, but this little sprout, they're already eating the bark. But see, they chewed the end off there. But once these leaf out, that's the first thing they'll go for, is the leaves specifically from these sprouts. See right here, they've been girdling these sprouts. So it reduces your labor immensely having goats if you're trying to create silvopasture, because the goats will essentially kill whatever comes back. I plan to do it slowly, you know, move them often enough that they don't outright kill the sprouts right away, but manage them in a way that they get the nutrition off the sprouts, but don't leave them in an area too long that they have to resort to eating all the bark. In the winter, obviously, it's fine. They can eat all the bark they want, but I'm also thinking of experimenting with making some tree hay. I'll have so many sprouts this summer that I don't think they'll be able to keep up with them all, so I'll probably pay my son and a couple of his cousins to take machetes and make some tree hay. That's part of the problem feeding hay to goats through the winter. In general, it's not their, I guess, preferred forage, so I think tree hay would be optimal. It's pretty expensive feeding goats hay in the winter because they are so picky and they don't eat all the hay, or sheep and cows don't either, but goats eat even less. So here's the last bale I'll do this spring. I set it like this because it wicks water if you have the hay bale oriented this way. We got almost 2 3/4 inches of rain in the past 2 days, so it's really important to set it this way, so that, because otherwise if you put it the other way, this way the bale will take on a lot of water, and yeah, the goats won't eat it as well. So yeah, we've been in this area for a couple weeks now. The last couple years the goats have been in this old corn crib, and I feed square bales in there. I have been, but I think I'll just start doing only bale grazing in my pastures, so that, you know, you get a lot more benefit for the labor, and plus square bales to haul and stack and then feeding them every day. I think it's a lot more work than just setting out a bunch of bales. And every day I come and undo the ratchet strap, and with a pitchfork take off the outer layer, because they eat all the leaves on the outer layer and there's just stems left on the outer layer of the bale. So I pitch it out with a pitchfork, which I think with cows I wouldn't have to do that, but with goats being as picky as they are, I elect to do that and just spread the hay out. It's not too much work. It's actually enjoyable. So yeah, that's it for now. More videos to come.